Nammo Aditafa, good morning. Thank you for joining me for today's daily practice check-in. Listen, listen, listen. This beautiful sound calls us back to our true home. The fifth wonderful precept. Aware of the suffering caused by unmindful consumption, I vow to cultivate good health, both physical and mental, for myself, my family, and my society by practicing mindful eating, drinking, and consuming. I will ingest only items that preserve peace, well-being, and joy in my body, in my consciousness, and in the collective body and consciousness of my family and society. I'm determined not to use alcohol or any other items that contain toxins, such as certain TV programs, magazines, books, films, and conversations. I'm aware that to damage my body or my consciousness with these poisons is to betray my ancestors, my parents, my society, and future generations. I will work to transform violence, fear, anger, and confusion in myself and in society by practicing a diet for myself and for society. I understand that a proper diet is crucial for self-transformation and the transformation of society. We're continuing to read Ajahn Sucitta's book Kamma and the End of Kamma. Today we're ready for the section on selfless persons, emptying the mirror. That relinquishment also has a long-term effect, one of letting go of having to carry out karmic programs. I don't have to be something, simply because I never ever have been able to be anything in the first place. All that happened was a tangle of confused activity. The apparent trapped owner of the mind is exposed as a phantom, a confusion of consciousness. And as that confusion abates, so also does the drive of intention. There is a sense of release, of lightness and freedom. A moment of such relinquishment isn't the end of the story, but it is a breakthrough, because for a moment karmic drives stop, and there is a relinquishment of the sense of agency, and with that, stress. There can be an unsupported stillness without an intention holding it, and in the long term, that radically affects one's appetite for states of being. They can be supportive and vital for the path, but they are not the essence of the fruit of awakening. Because as long as there's the view that a real self is the owner, perpetrator, and inheritor of karma, that view supports patterns of feeling good or bad about it, and of doing something about it. When that view is relinquished, there's peace, because there's nothing to do. But it's not that there's the view of being a self who is independent of karma, or the view that there's no such thing as karma. In the domain of karma, of cause and effect, then skills around karma have to be exercised, and in fact are necessary to come out of tangling in the aggregates. Then karma can cease in the deathless. The experience of relinquishment is a start of a graduated process of awakening that takes in successively deeper levels of karmic programming. But the first stage of stream entry is summarized by the removal of 3 ways in which the self-programs operate, self-orientations, if you like. These are orientation around historical identity or personality, orientation around uncertainty, and orientation around rules and customs. That is, the average person assumes that their known personality is a historical identity. I like this. I'm no good at this. I belong to this family, ethnic group, gender. The telltale sign is that the identity has to be sustained by a pretty constant stream of thoughts and emotions, that are saying what we should be, or providing personal, relational, ethnic, or gender issues to get stirred up by. Some of these are the judgment and demand monologues of the inner tyrant, the patterns that drive us to do something to prove we're good enough and become something more useful or esteemed or happy. Some are moods of frustration and defeat, but they all depend on this psychological activity. They are old Kamma being regurgitated. A stream enterer has handled their inheritance at this level of identity to the point whereby they are settled in their conventional skin. An average person trawls through books and speculates in search of certainty. Will I get what I need in this? She says awakening is like that, but he says it's like this. Or they attach to daily routines, metaphysical or religious systems, or meditation techniques as, this is the way, do 10 of these at these hours, and then things will progress. But with stream entry, this patterning is also given up. Stream enterers aren't trying to prove themselves according to an idea or a system, or failing to do so and attempting to cover up that failure, because they have discovered greater steadiness, clarity, and heartfulness through unfettered experience. They don't attempt to orient themselves in accordance with these fetters. They understand the usefulness and limitations of views, ideas, and actions, and how to let go of them. So what manifests is an increasingly selfless person, grateful for the Dhamma and steady in its aims. The reflexes of irritability and sensuality, a fascination with meditative absorptions or self-reference and restlessness and ignorance remain, but a stream enterer knows what self-view is and where it can stop. That means they continue to work on the other fetters with assurance. For now, this is a good place to stop. May all beings be well. May all beings be happy. May all beings be peaceful. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you for joining me this morning.